Sarah.
Thank you.
To the 40-year-old Fuck Up podcast.
I still love the name. It's amazing.
We've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
My first memory of you is the lunch trolley
Yep.
at the office block that I worked in.
Yep. That was me. I was, and any opportunity to dress up either as well. In holiday, I would come in and it's like Sarah was dressed up.
Yep.
That was fun. It was a good job.
Yep. Yes, and I think I ordered quite a few vanilla slices off you.
And caramel slices. You were the caramel, and I used to get up you because it's like, dude, you're not supposed to be buying those. I can't be your mum and tell you not to buy them, but I know you're not supposed to be.
Oh, no.
Oh, how times have changed since then.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
I have, yeah. I was not a very healthy person.
No, you were not. And when I bumped into you the next time through a mutual friend and just an accidental, it's like, oh my God, I know you. Walking in when I'd agreed to a boudoir photography session.
Right, with Robin.
And she said, oh, yeah, my friend Ben's going to be there too. Yeah, cool as, no worries. And I'm walking, it's like, oh, I know you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Robin and I just met through an online, actually a couple of online, like Facebook photography groups. And yeah, we're both kind of interested in heading down that path of work. And so that was good fun.
It was a beautiful photo shoot, actually. And I remember that was right in the peak of my, about a third of the way into my bodybuilding career. And I was having quite a lot of, a lot of transitional thoughts in my head about how my body was presenting, and, it was becoming harder and, leaner, which then meant less feminine in my eyes and in a lot of society's eyes as well. So I was struggling with how I was presenting, and you made that a really beautiful experience. And we got some great photographs out of it.
We did.
There's some really cool photographs that I treasure to this day.
Yeah, I still love that shoot. Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
So, and we've done a few more since.
We have. And I remember you saying at the time exactly that you loved the bodybuilding and the process and, being lean and being in that shape, but it left you feeling a little less than feminine.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. And it was very societally driven as well. There are acceptable body types, and, it's unfortunately all too often looked upon as okay to shame a woman or anybody in that space. But if somebody was overweight, they would never say the things that they say. I got a lot of backlash, and it was a lot to deal with. I'm an empath. I don't have a real thick skin. And so it did. It did hurt my feelings a lot, but it also shaped me and motivated me.
Which is like, it was around back there. Like we'd have shows like, Xena, and now we've got like Wonder Woman and all this stuff, like these strong warrior women. And I don't understand why. I obviously still have a lot to do with that world, and a lot of my female friends that are, building in prep and stuff, they cop it.
All the time.
They cop it.
All the time, even within the industry. Anything beyond, obviously for anybody who doesn't know the bodybuilding industry, it came from a very, women weren't involved in it hugely to start off with, and it's just exploded over the last probably 10 years.
Yeah.
With the introduction of different categories. So you've got anything from swimwear and bikini, which is a lot leaner and a lot softer, and what you might see on the front of a swim, Sports Illustrated back in the day. Gosh, showing my age, isn't it?
And they're looking for different things, right?
They
in
are.
Each category. So saying in swimsuit and bikini, they're not looking for defined abs.
No.
They're not looking for, separation and definition in, say, your quads and hamstrings, stuff like that. They're looking for different things in different categories.
Yeah. So when you start stepping up into the categories where they are looking for things that are a little bit harder and leaner and more defined, that's where you start stepping into a space where, you know, even just walking around with a singlet on and that you've got biceps and your shoulders are a bit bigger. And then, you know, when your shoulders are a bit bigger within the space of the industry, then people are like, oh, her shoulders popped up real quick. Oh, she's taking gear, you know? And it's like, no, I'm just working fucking hard and I'm eating well and I'm looking after myself. And I really prided myself in how I approached that space in my life. And I have no regrets, absolutely no regrets. It actually saved me. Yeah. The bodybuilding world saved me, and my approach to it and the way I dealt with it was a massive part of my healing into where I am today. Yeah. And but yeah, when I stepped up on the stage for the last time, I won lots of competitions. You know, I did really well, and I stepped up on the stage for the last time. When I stepped up on the top of that podium that day, I knew. I was like, "Yep, I'm done. That's me." Tick. Yeah. Yeah, and that was a really beautiful feeling as well, to feel a sense of completion and that I'd achieved what I needed to and I wanted to in that space, and I was ready to move on to something else. At the time I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was ready to move on. So yeah, but it was a massive part of my healing, and I suppose probably that, you know, segue into, you know, this space of the 40-year-old fuck up, you know. And I probably wouldn't frame it as a fuck up, but, you know, the reason I stepped into the bodybuilding world was because I had a complete mental and physical breakdown. I just broke. I partied my ass off for years, years and years and years. I had a great time, and I always had amazing intentions behind it. I was a very functioning drug user, very functioning. It probably led to massive polarities where I always had this whole thing where if my house was clean and tidy, there was food on the table, everything was functioning properly, it was my sort of gauge that I was functioning, that everything was okay. I could totally give myself permission to let totally loose in the other aspects of my life, you know, which I did. Yeah. And yeah, my body and my mind broke. It was enough was enough. Yeah. And I actually ended up with bilateral tendonitis in both of my arms. I was on antidepressants. At that point in time, I'd been a heavy weed smoker for probably 7 or 8 years every day. And you can only do so much before the body says no more. Yeah, yeah. And so I went to the doctor, and she sent me to, I call her my knight in shining armour, Nicole. She was a physio, she still is, and I still go to see her every now and then. And she said, right, all your muscle firing patterns are wrong. Your body just doesn't even know how to work anymore, and you need to teach it. So it was like coming back to teaching it how to function properly. And I cancelled my first PT session 3 times before I went. I was so scared. I'd never set foot in a gym before. Yeah. And I rocked up, and Knowles is the most amazing personal trainer. I walked into the most amazing man right from the start. That was exactly the medicine that I needed. Yeah. And that led to a 6-year bodybuilding career. But it was something until I stepped into then the trail running from that I realised that I was replacing drugs for another sort of drug and then another sort of distraction before my body finally broke again. And I've been in a space now for the last 12 months of pause. Yeah. I've been in that space between. I've been in that transition, and there's been a lot of time to sit and contemplate and be. And it's been pretty amazing.
Because when you push hard at anything, and like even push hard at partying, right? you kind of get this this energy about you that you just go hard at everything that you do.
Oh yeah, boots and all. I'm boots and all.
And I think a lot of the highly successful people in the bodybuilding world, in the sporting world, are those people that...
There's a lot of ex-drug addicts.
Oh, a lot. A lot.
Switching one addiction for another one. Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody's had a very, very loaded pre-workout,
there's some epic pre-workouts out there.
You'll know that it can be a pretty big buzz anyway.
Yeah. You'd trade going to bed at 4 a.m. to waking up at 4 a.m. and taking a pre-workout that should probably be illegal anyway.
I remember the first time I ever took a caffeinated pre-workout, and I went like straight in.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was like 400 milligrams or something of caffeine per scoop.
And this is synthetic caffeine too, so it interacts in the body differently.
Yeah.
It's
not like having a coffee.
No.
And before that, I'd be like, oh, no, I don't take anything like that. And then
until you do.
Until you do, and I think I'd gone to the gym about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, I'll have a scoop of this. No. 4 in the morning, I was still buzzing. But unfortunately, I mean, your body adjusts, and
it does.
Now I can take a 450 milligram scoop of pre before bed and sleep like a baby.
No way.
Probably not so much anymore. But I got to a point where, my adrenals were pretty fucked. Yeah.
Well, that's what led me to where I am today, and your body is a barometer. It does speak to you, but, initially it whispers. But, up here, your head, your mind and your ego, it shouts and your heart whispers. So it overrides a lot, and we're so conditioned to listen to the ego and the mind, and the intellectual side of things, that to listen to the language of the heart can seem very confusing, and you just don't understand it. So then you get frustrated, and you're like, nah, too hard, fuck this. I'm going to go and distract myself by running hundreds of kilometres in the bush now.
Which I was saying to my girlfriend just before we got here, I said that you'd done bodybuilding. I said, now they run like 100 kilometre like ultra marathons. I'm like, I think that's crazy.
It is a different type of weird. But I have to say, when I was in the bodybuilding industry, and this was partially probably my approach as well, and I always felt on the outskirts, I didn't feel like they were my tribe. They were all very different, and I probably approached it very differently. And then I think I fueled myself on wanting to be different, and do it differently, and show that it could be done differently, and it could be done healthy. But gosh, the term healthy, define that. It's a very big, broad term. So I was doing it in what I deemed to be the healthy way back then, which then led me down the path of learning more about nutrition and seeing just the power of what you could actually, how you could manipulate your mind and your body with food and exercise. And that was just a pivotal moment for me, where I was like, holy shit. Because, you go to the doctor, they give you antidepressants or whatever, it's so disempowering. All they want to do is deem you broken and fix you.
Yeah.
With a Band-Aid fix nonetheless. It's just a Band-Aid solution. Unless I
covering up symptoms. Totally. All doctors do these days.
But at the same time as well, we are taught to pedestal them. We are very misconstrued as to what they actually know. We think that they know more than they do. All they do, and I'm not discounting it either, they're very good at what they do, but we probably allow them to invade too many spaces.
Yeah.
They learn very, very in-depth anatomy and physiology. They learn diagnosis of disease and then what drug to prescribe to mask the symptoms of said disease.
And the problem with our Western, well, the problem I think with our Western system of medicine is that we've allowed general practitioners to be the gatekeeper of the entire
That's a great way to call them.
Right? So you want to go anywhere. You want to go see a psychologist and get a mental health care plan, you've got to see your GP first.
Yeah.
You have I've got a hernia that I need to get. I can't just go and go and see a surgeon and get it sorted. You've got to be, go see your GP, get referral. So they've really disempowered people's, individualised approach to health.
Yes.
Because you have to go to a gatekeeper first before you can go anywhere else in the health space. So it's then become a game of, or I need to find the GP that I align with.
Yeah. But then they can only be the gatekeepers of what's in the system.
That's right.
You know, and unfortunately the system in my eyes is broken as fuck. It is so broken. It is all about disempowering us.
Yeah.
And this is what my journey led me on, is that like after it's like, right, okay, I'm starting to get better. I want to get off these antidepressants. Unless I had approached my GP myself, all they would have done, and I've seen this happen so often, so way too often. Oh, I'm not feeling really good. Oh, we'll just up your dosage. We'll up your dosage. We'll up your dosage.
Yeah.
We'll numb you more.
Try
numb you more.
Try a different one.
Yeah. And so then what it does as well is it numbs you and brings your extremes to be able to feel emotion are numbed. So that it also means that your ability to feel extreme happiness and joy is numbed.
Oh, and the thing about psych drugs and treating the brain as an organ, if you break your arm, you go in, you get an X-ray, and they go, oh, wow, look at that. You've done a good job. You've really broken your arm.
Yeah.
And they can look exactly how it's broken. They can see if it's a clean break, if there's shards, if it's a compound fracture, if it's a hairline fracture. They can look at that and really assess exactly what's happened. And then they know how to treat it, right? We don't have that with the brain.
No.
You sit down with somebody and you say, you know, they do a depression anxiety matrix, or you know, have you thought about this recently? How do you feel about that? And it's all very subjective. Then let's try this medication. Yeah. And then with SSRIs and all these psych drugs, let's just say it is a chemical imbalance. Say, part of your brain is lacking or oversaturated in a neurotransmitter. The medication can't just focus on that one part of the brain.
No, can't influence one without the other.
It floods your entire brain, or it inhibits the entire brain. Psychiatry and antidepressants and this whole thing is so hit and miss. The whole thing, and the fact that we get these mental health care plans off the government. So anybody overseas, this is the Australian healthcare system and what they do. You go and see your GP and you say, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit depressed." They run through some questions with you to diagnose you as having depression.
So they're ticking the boxes.
Then they say, here's 6 sessions to see a psychologist at a discounted rate.
Yes.
So the average cost to see a psychologist is about $180 on average per session. The government rebates you like $85, $95. Yeah. So you're still out of pocket roughly around $100 per session. That's just inaccessible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Plus you only get 6 sessions up front. So say you're really going through a traumatic experience in your life, or you've lost a loved one, or something big has happened. You want to see somebody probably weekly, sometimes twice a week if you're in the middle of trauma. So you're looking at 3 to 6 weeks of discounted help. You can then go back to your GP and say, I need a few more sessions. They can give you another 4.
And that's only within a 12-month period.
Yeah. So if we look at mental health and the flow-on effects of that, like people with depression, anxiety, PTSD, like all these things, they're not eating well.
No.
They're not exercising. They're not going outside. They're not getting fresh air. They're not getting vitamin D.
Yeah.
They're not socially interacting with people, so they're not getting those connections and that energy in their life. And so, of course, they're going to be sick.
Yeah.
They're going to get sick.
To what degree?
So if the government actually decided to put some serious resources and focus on mental health and get with the times. And like one thing that
following the money trail.
Stop following the money trail and look at some things that are actually working. And something I'm very interested in is drug-assisted therapy.
Yes.
And very exciting at the moment. There's some great clinical trials actually happening here on the Sunshine Coast. There's a ketamine trial happening. Also in Australia, there's psilocybin and MDMA trials happening. So, and these aren't just like giving people drugs and, you know, like they do with antidepressants, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, you go to the GP and they're like, oh, here's some drugs, these make you feel better.
Yeah.
Like the beauty of this is they're not just saying, yeah, take some mushrooms, you're going to feel better. It's no, you go see a therapist, you have structured psychotherapy. The drugs are to assist the barriers we create in our psyche and the protectors and the blockages we put up. It pulls down our ego to actually get in there. So as a therapist, you can spend at least weeks, if not months, working with people to just get behind the ego wall to get to the real issues of trauma to start to work from a psychotherapy point of view. And psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, bang.
Yeah.
That ego wall's gone, access the trauma, get the work done. It is so much more efficient.
So much so.
So it's starting to change. It's exciting. It's starting to change. But, you know, there's petitions going on at the moment to get psilocybin and MDMA rescheduled in Australia. Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
You know what? And again, you know, gosh, this is only my opinion, all right? I'm sure I would like to think, and I think there probably is some evidence to back it up, but I'm sure those people who are wanting it stopped have a financial purpose in wanting to shut it down, that it will disadvantage whatever they have to offer, which is probably a Band-Aid solution and probably leads back to the pharmaceutical industry and them, quote unquote, or they, quote unquote. But this is a journey that I have been on over the last 12 months. Like I said earlier, you know, I went from distracting myself from my life and dealing with my shit through drugs. And then I did it through bodybuilding. And then I did it through long distance trail running. But the long distance trail running started breaking it down. Because you're spending long periods of time, sometimes by yourself, excuse me, not all the time. I'd run with others as well. And my partner ran with me as well. We both ended up getting into it. Yeah. I don't know who blames who for that one. He came from triathlons, road triathlons, and I came from bodybuilding, and we merged into the ultra trail running world. Yeah. And so when you're out there in nature, you're reconnecting more. So I started coming back to a place where I was reconnecting. I was creating space. You know, sometimes I'd listen to music. More often than not, I wouldn't. I'd listen and connect in with the surroundings. Yeah. And then COVID hit. Fuck, I love COVID so much. I thank COVID all the time, because it put me in a place where I could no longer bypass my bullshit. It made me pause. It made me stop. And I then discovered so many other things to enable me to start looking at this shit that I've been avoiding for years. One of them being mushrooms. I did a microdosing journey for 3 months. It was self-guided, but I was supported and instructed very, very well. And you know what? It got me the fuck out of my own way. Yeah. And what it did is it took that ego and you know how I said earlier, your heart whispers and your mind yells and your ego yells. It quietened that ego and allowed me to start having the patience to learn what the language of my heart was saying, you know. Yeah. But also I then dived into and discovered breath work. boom.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
The power of your breath. And, you could start looking at so many things. Like as a nutritionist, from a nutritional perspective, I teach conscious consumerism. So it's about bringing awareness to the impact of your daily choices. What's the impact of purchasing that $2 T-shirt from Kmart? Do you know the chain that happened and what that impact is and what it looks like? What about buying those imported apples that have been stored for 6 months, and buying that cheap bottle of milk? Who's suffering? Not you, not the supermarket, farmer, So it's bringing awareness and to a lot of these things as to how the system has got us so locked into a space of scarcity, fear, mindset, where you then have no opportunity but, no, like rephrase that, and you're conditioned to think that there is nothing else but to merely survive.
Yeah.
And in a space of survival,
Scarcity.
Total scarcity. Yeah. And in that space of survival mode, you don't have the capacity or the energy to look at doing anything more than Band-Aid things.
Yeah.
So looking at exploring things like breath work or mushrooms or breaking free of the system takes energy. It takes guts. It takes courage to take ownership of your shit.
Yeah.
Look at it. And, they paint this spiritual awakening as like fluffy puppy dogs and rainbows.
Oh, there's some shadow work in there
It's a rocky fucking road, man.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what's beautiful and glorious? And you know what? The other amazing thing that has come from it is community.
Oh, yes.
And connection.
Yeah.
And the most heartfelt, beautiful people have stepped into my space. I have just, my relationships that were standing were either strengthened or dissolved.
Yeah.
And new ones that came up that matched my energetic flow of where I was at. And you start opening up to these things, and the people, the places, the opportunities, they all start appearing. And, but that requires you to be in a space of receptivity and to receive. Again, as a societal conditioning that we are made to think is not, it's selfish, where it's actually self-love. And I had reframed a lot of things, including discipline. Discipline is an act of self-love.
And I mean, there's some beautiful things that community aspect brings to us as individuals. I remember when I first started to explore the breath work and meditation thing, and I literally the week before, I've always been a very affectionate person, very hugs and touchy feely, and it's just who I've always been. And an ex-partner had made a comment to me, somebody that had worked for her that. Like a small team, you get to know quite well. Something had happened, and I think I'd touched on put my hand on her back, and like, hey, are you okay? Like a little rub between the shoulders, kind of thing. Not like rub, like just like single hand on the back, kind of thing. And a few days after that, my partner had made a comment to me about like how uncomfortable I made that person feel, and kind of really almost vilified me. And I was really kind of taken back, and I'm a very self-reflective person, so I kind of something like that happens, and I'm like, yes, we have a Putty cat's very comfortable there.
Looking kind of creepy.
And I kind of went in and was like, like, okay, like I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable, and kind of really started to doubt myself and who I was, and question, okay, well, how do I interact with people and stuff like that? And I mean, for more context, I mean, that wasn't the only time that was kind of heaped on me in that relationship, but I went along. There was a breath work and meditation thing on Alex Beach. And it was and it was the first one of those kind of things that I'd gone along to, and I got there quite early, and the facilitators were just starting to set up, and I walked up, and one of the female facilitators saw me walking up, and she said, hi, I'm such and such. It's so great to meet you. Huge hug. Yeah. And I was like, like that connection, and then And then the male facilitator came up and, oh, hi, I'm such and such. Huge hug.
Yeah. And they're not just little quick hugs. They are long, beautiful, heartfelt, connective hugs.
Yeah, and you get into this community, and I've got some other friends now that are tantric high priestesses and these kind of incredible energetic people. And the connection in this community, the energy, what it feeds back into you. I spent a weekend recently. Oh, the trial retreat that we ran. Yeah. And it was half a dozen women came. It was just me and my mate Jesse, who Jesse owns the property. And it's this beautiful weekend of being surrounded by this gorgeous just femininity and this energy and the connections and what you get from these communities. It's just...
it's next level.
It's missing from
and this comes from, the response that you got from that, action and that instinctual, comforting, reaction that you had to hold space for somebody and just... absolutely from a pure heart of empathy and concern, are you okay? Can only be received from a place that they are able to receive it from. It doesn't matter your intention.
That's right.
Well, actually, no, I'll take that back. Your intention does matter, but regardless of your intention, it can only be received from where that person is at.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that actually we spoke before we started recording about how, I probably have always been a bit of a rebel, but it used to be without a cause, now I have a cause and a purpose, and I'm always sort of going against the grain and trying to, sit on the outskirts of society and the system.
Yeah.
But it's not from a place of wanting to shun it. It's just that there's no connection there. There's no depth. Everybody is on autopilot, and they are so hypnotized and so embedded in this system. They have no idea. And I don't like using these terms now, awake, because they've been thrown around with so much malice and hate that I don't like them, but I don't know quite else how to explain it. But, when you wake up to see that there is a whole beautiful world around you. It's not the world that's not beautiful, it's the system that's fucked.
Oh, yeah.
The world is goddamn beautiful, and there is beauty and joy to be witnessed in everything, even the shadows. There is always beauty, and, it goes back to that old saying, the sun is always shining, even when the clouds are there, it's just behind them, you know? And like this morning, I've gone down to the beach and for sunrise, and it was all moody and cloudy and raining down on the horizon and stuff. So there wasn't an actual sunrise, but it was still fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And that is my choice to view the world through that lens. And everybody has a choice to view the world through the lens that they choose. Yeah. But some people everybody's journey is exactly as it's meant to be. And not everybody will, quote unquote, see the vision. Not everybody will get to experience that joy, and that makes me sad. But I've chosen now in my space to authentically turn up as me, and be me. And you know what my word for the year is? You'll think that, oh yeah, of course it is, joy.
Yes.
So my word for the year is joy. And if I can bring joy in this seemingly what a lot of people think fucked up world, but it's actually beautiful. You just got to reframe that. Then my job is done, and I continue to bring joy, but I continue to bring awareness, and I have a message, and I've created a life where I have the opportunity to be in a space of thriving and not surviving, so that I have the capacity and the energy to share that vision. I want people to understand that we are powerful. In our feminine too, we are powerful, but we also need the structure of the masculine, which is internally in us all. We don't have to go to a man for masculine. We can create it in ourselves, So you create that foundation and that structure to support your feminine. And that's that beautiful balance that will always be.
Yeah.
On that effort and ease and doing and being, those spaces to allow yourself to keep stepping forward to create those future realities, So, but also living in the present moment. It's, Yeah, it's a beautiful space to be in. So, for me, it always comes back to what does my heart draw me to, what creates fire and passion in me. And it's like, I love this planet. I love this lifestyle. I love where I live. And I don't want it to be destroyed by our unsustainable system that is in perpetual need for growth and greed and it's and I'm not here to squash the patriarchy. I'm not a feminist. I'm embodying my feminine. But we have been ruled from this patriarchal extractive space for so long that we need for us to rise in our feminine to balance it out. But that's not to squash the masculine. There are ways that we can bring a lot more. We can. Mother Nature, Mother Earth will go on without us. We can't go on without her.
It will thrive without us.
It will thrive without us,
Yeah.
If you've ever listened to Zach Bush speak, oh my God, it's so...
Okay.
Blows my mind.
So Zach Bush.
Yeah. Okay, how are you going to articulate this?
Well, so I was a couple of years ago. It must have been a couple of years ago now. We were talking about podcasts and stuff, and you had asked me, have I listened to Aubrey Marcus?
Oh, did I? Yes.
And I'm like, no. You like listen to Aubrey. You'll love Aubrey Marcus. Oh, I fucking love Aubrey Marcus.
I know, right?
Like have you heard of Arcadia?
I am going to Arcadia, bro. I'm going to Fit for Service next year. That is my future vision. I am going to Fit for Service next year.
Yeah,
I'm
nice.
going to hang out with Aubrey and Vailana and all those magical people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like, because Zach Bush is obviously speaking at
Have you heard his one that he's just done on Arcadia?
Yes. Yeah. And that
mind blowing. Put it in your show notes.
Yes.
Aubrey Marcus and Zach Bush speaking about Arcadia.
and but this whole concept of the more beautiful world.
Yes.
And I mean it's here.
Yeah, it is.
It's here. This isn't something that's in the future and something we have to work towards and something that, if we do the right thing, we can build this more beautiful world. I mean, this more beautiful world is here if we choose to exist in it.
Yes.
The way that we, interact with each other, the way that we trade with each other, the way, obviously, view medicine and the healing space and Zach Bush, I just I hear that oh,
I know,
want to be there.
It's just beautiful, but the space that he speaks from as well, and the way he says, I can't remember. Actually, he did a really great podcast with Lacey. I can't remember her last name, the Expanded podcast. Where she said, what is it like to live from this place? And he said, it's very disruptive. It's very disruptive. So you've got to be willing to work with that disruptive nature of how you approach the world that is not functioning in the same capacity as you are.
Yeah.
How do you then function in your, and gosh, higher vibration, that's the wrong word as well, but, there's no, how do you keep your joyous mindset and state of being in this world that is continuously trying to bring you down?
But vibration, I don't think is the wrong word. A good mate of mine put me onto David Hawkins.
Oh, I haven't heard. Oh, cool. I put you onto Zach Bush. Okay, you're going to give me David Hawkins.
Okay, so David Hawkins was a psychiatrist or psychologist. And I'm pretty sure he's passed away now, wrote about 12 books about the levels of consciousness. I've just finished reading a book called Letting Go, which is about how to, move through, transcend these levels of consciousness. But he's developed this scale, logarithmic scale of vibrational energy that goes from shame is the lowest level up to enlightenment.
Heard of this. Yes, yep.
And the whole thing is to work through these, kind of assess where you're at, what energy
How does
level
it feel in your body?
You're operating out of, and then he talks in Letting Go about kind of the standard things we do with emotions, suppression and repression. We try and release, but in the process of doing that, we don't tend to release all of our emotions. And, he talks about like sitting in that space and letting the emotion do the thing it's supposed to do,
Yes.
Serve its purpose. But when it's done, transcending that space and moving up higher. So, to be operating out of, it is the challenge in a lot of ways. If you want to be above neutrality, like the level of 200, and in those higher realms of consciousness, we do have a world where people are operating out of shame and guilt and anger and desire. And when you've got this around you, it's okay, well, how do you keep yourself operating at this level of love, peace, acceptance, joy, like enlightenment, if you can reach it. But I mean, even just to be up around that, love and acceptance.
It feels good.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you want to be there? And this is one of the things that I've actually come to realise. Well, I was always aware of it, but it's really landed on another level, and shit lands on different levels all the time, is that there are so many people that identify and don't have the capacity to see themselves beyond that scarcity. They identify so much with it, like that poverty consciousness rather than prosperity consciousness.
Yeah.
And they're so identified with it that they cannot contemplate their lives without it or in a different space. When it comes to, I've been working through a lot of money blocks, because I was teaching conscious consumerism from that nutritional perspective and, from a consumerism, retail sort of space.
Yeah.
And manufacturing space for a long time. But what about those money blocks? What about those financial blocks? I had shitloads of them. I didn't even know existed. I was like, whoa, what's this space? I've worked into this. Obviously it was a step along in the journey.
Yeah.
And so I started working along those. And, now that I've broken through a few barriers, I'm really moving forward with things now and sitting from a space that is a lot more abundant, and working with prosperity consciousness. And a lot of people have so many really hectic blocks around that, and it keeps them stuck in the system.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm teaching now, is breaking free of the system. But it can be on so many different levels and from so many different places. But at the moment, I'm working with a lot of people on that financial space.
Yeah.
And I told myself for years, you don't do money. You're not a numbers person. You're not good at that sort of things. You're just a nutritionist, And it's like, firstly, can we all eliminate the word just from our, language is powerful, spelling, spells. You are casting spells, and they also have a frequency and an energetic thing to them. So when you're speaking, from an energetic level, those words that you're using matter as well. So it's all about awareness. Awareness is a superpower.
Yes.
Awareness is a superpower. And then what you choose to do with that is your choice. I teach people, okay, this is the consequences of buying that $2 T-shirt from Kmart. You can then make an informed choice as to whether you want to continue to do that or not. That is your choice. And whatever choice you make it guilt-free.
Yeah. You've mentioned the $2 T-shirt from Kmart a few times. Mm-hmm. Have you seen there's a post going around social media about Shein? The Chinese clothing.
Oh, yeah, I did see that recently. I didn't look into it to know the detail, though. I can't remember. But it's basically I know a lot about that industry.
They're stitching, like, help me messages onto the tags of the clothing. Like.
Yeah, well, see, this is one thing as well as that, like, I'm not dispelling that post by any means, but there's a lot of shit that goes around that is not actually, and see, this is where we're fed information now on social media. Does anybody actually look at the substance behind it?
Yeah.
Just like they make health claims and they'll reference a particular study to back up their health claims. You look at that study, it's the biggest load of shit in the entire world.
Yeah.
But I'm not discounting that. I don't know whether that's true or not. But if you, so another one for the show notes and for people to go back and watch is a movie made or a documentary made in 2015 called The True Cost.
Yeah, okay.
So The True Cost is a documentary about the fast fashion industry. The fast fashion industry behind big agriculture. When I'm talking about big ag, I'm not talking about good regenerative agriculture. I'm talking about your monocropping and your factory farming. Behind that, fast fashion is the most detrimental thing and to the climate. And God, I can't remember the exact figures, but the waste just from returns of so you shop online and it's like, I don't know whether I'm going to be an 8 or a 10, I'm going to order both and I'll send one back. So a lot of people will purchase clothing with that frame of thought. It's like, I'll buy a heap of stuff and I'll figure out what I like and I'll send it back. So over 50% of items that get sent back just get thrown away.
What?
So that ends up in landfill, which contributes to the climate, the equivalent of putting 3 million cars on the road for a year.
Wow.
So when we think about, climate change, we need to actually have electric cars. And I also want to plant this thought in people's minds is that there is no physical way that we can turn this world into being run by electric cars. The thing is, you're swapping one fossil fuel for another.
Yeah.
Where does the lithium come from to make batteries? There is no way that we can actually. And then where does it go once you can't? Those batteries are really expensive, and
we're not,
the whole car's going to go into the waste.
Yeah, and we're not at a tipping point with renewable energy, like even so the factory that makes solar panels, is that run by solar?
I know, right?
Like there is a cost to manufacturing these things, and hey, if the answer is yes, fucking amazing.
Yeah,
great. When we're at a point where we have renewable or clean energy producing the energy that it takes to produce the things that make clean energy, then we're on the right path.
Yeah.
But while we have, the Tesla factory probably being powered by
biggest greenwashing shit in the world in my eyes.
and look, I think it's a nudge in a direction that we need to go. We need to find a way to produce clean energy in a sustainable way. We're not even close to being there. Not even close. But we need to get there. No doubt about it. No doubt at all. We need to get there, but we are a long way off being there.
And this is where the awareness comes in. And this is what my whole journey has been about is taking steps along the way to creating a life that is in alignment. And I think that, that's such a cliche term thrown around that, I found within the stepping into the spiritual world, there was a lot of different words thrown around that created a picture in my head that was probably inaccurate, like the fluffy puppy dogs and rainbows, So there's a lot of words, so when I say in alignment, but and it's not even reconnecting because we are nature. We are not superior. We are not apart from. But the more you live in cities and go to Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, get stuck in this routine, the more you disconnect and more you what I've come to realise is that most people don't give a shit. They will happily throw their normal rubbish in a recycling bin and not even give two thoughts about the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So this system has produced people who do not give a shit, who are completely living life with blinkers on and don't even contemplate what happens beyond that. So if I can start creating a space where people start giving a shit again, then it's amazing, because if you understand what this means too, this comes from Zach Bush, we have between 70 and 80 harvests left in the current state that we're the way we're doing things. So if you think about that, that's 70 to 80 years left before sixth grade extinction happens. But we are at a point where we have all the there's another film, 2040.
Yeah.
2040 is a great one.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah. So we have all of the answers here now. But the thing is that we cannot, what we're trying to do is create solutions from this system that is still needing to create companies that have growth, pay CEOs shit tons of money, and are from an extractive space.
Yeah.
So when we're trying to create solutions from that space, we're never going to find them.
No.
So, the whole, and this is where people are clutching on and going, oh my God, we need to hold on to no, we need to loosen our grip. We need to let go, because this whole system has to crumble and fall, and we have to have a death.
Yeah.
To enable something absolutely fucking amazing to flourish.
There's been a few podcasts I've listened to recently on kind of reimagining the economic space.
Charles Eisenstein.
Yes.
Sacred Economics.
Well, it was Charles was just on Aubrey's podcast.
Yes.
And that, so I've had blockages around money.
Yeah.
I grew up with a very overbearing stepfather who his sole purpose in life was to pay off the mortgage. Mm-hmm. So money in our family wasn't about, and look, we were just very comfortably middle class.
Yeah.
We weren't poor by any stretch of the imagination. We definitely weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination. But money's purpose was to pay off the mortgage.
Yeah.
Money's purpose wasn't to live life. It wasn't to enjoy life. It wasn't to prosper and to, like, it was.
The system worked on him, didn't it?
Oh, fuck yeah. It was the sole purpose of money was to pay off the mortgage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was 5 of us kids, us 3 older boys, fairly active. Needed a new pair of shoes every 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking drama that was. If we wanted to go to the movies with our friends or anything like it was just...
You were shamed for that, probably?
Yeah. Because well, no, like, money's to pay off the mortgage. Mum would have to... everything that was spent on the credit card, the receipt had to be kept and given, and he would sit there with the statement every month and mark everything off. And it was...
That's hectic.
It was like this regimented financial control. And I left home when I was 17 and had made a vow to be nothing like him.
Yes.
So inadvertently and subconsciously became very financially irresponsible.
I did the same thing.
And because growing up, money wasn't for living, for me, money became about living. It became about buying the things I wanted. It became about traveling. It became about, going out and having fun and doing things. The thought of saving and getting a mortgage and being responsible.
Fuck no.
Fuck that. That was Rick. That was my stepdad.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. Now at almost 40 years old, with no assets to my name, in hindsight, I go, there's probably balance there that I didn't find, but
now you have the opportunity to reframe.
Yeah. But that Charles Eisenstein's podcast recently with Aubrey, which was part of the Arcadia series.
Yeah. So he came in from the economic side of things, did he?
Yeah.
Ooh, I can't wait to listen to that.
And he talks about the kind of the donation framework, and so as a business owner, as a practitioner, so I had a marketing agency. I've had a whole heap of businesses. Sometimes quoting and charging people money, super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Super uncomfortable. Because I sit there and go, okay, I think this is like, I know the quality of the work that I can produce. I think it's worth X amount. And then if somebody then has any kind of an issue with paying that, it becomes quite reflective of yourself as a person, and subconsciously you start to take on this, am I not worth that? Am I not worthy, right? Yes. So all of a sudden economics starts to impact us personally. And I feel like I've had this glass ceiling, which I'm sure I've created myself, where
it's always self-imposed.
I have a degree of success, and then something will happen to level me back down, and then I'll build up and have a degree of success and be leveled back down. And moving forward with some of the things that I want to build and achieve and release into the world, and that podcast episode really challenged me on thinking about how I can do that differently, and in a way that gels with me, because I've never felt comfortable with the monetary system the way it is, especially being in a space where I want to help people.
Yeah.
So
I can relate.
there was I won't name any names, but there was a gentleman on the Sunshine Coast who put together a program for men. And I think it was you that kind of said, hey, check this out. And I had a look into it, and it looked great. And I contacted him, and we had a chat about it, and he was like, yeah, I think you'd fit, really well. I'd love to have you on board. I was like, all right. So in the discussions, I thought the cost of this program was about $1,200, $250, and he'd made mention that you could, there's a payment plan you could pay the fees off. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I can manage that financially. And then I went through the sign up process, and it came time to pay, and it wanted to take the full $1,250, and I messaged back and said, hey, is the the paid off option not quite up there yet? And he messaged back and said, oh, no, the $1,250 is just the deposit.
Oh, shit. Missed that bit.
and like completely my bad. I obviously didn't read things thoroughly enough. I'm like, oh, okay, well, how much is it? It's about $500 a week.
Oh, wow. That is out of reach for so many people. And I totally understand. This is a space where I've entered into now, where I've created some wealth creation strategies and, implementing some different tactics. Same, nothing changes. So I've adapted and learnt a few other ways to bring in some income. So now it feels so fucking good. Just like what you've just explained, I am just giving my services by donation, by energetic exchange, by gift, whatever that person feels they would like to exchange for that service. The new economy, because I now do not have to worry about having my business pay my bills. I have that part sorted in a different way, and I can be of service. As cheesy as that sounds, I am here to be of service. We all are. We all have gifts to share, but we want them to be accessible. But I don't think things should be free per se, because people still need to have value to them. But that degree of exchange can look so many different ways. Yeah. If we create the space for that to be possible.
Well, yeah. And like going through that experience of going, like, the transition I was going through at the time would have been a great thing for me to be involved in. Oh, my gosh,
yes. Yeah, because I know what you're referring to. Yeah.
The barrier for entry was just so high. And it really made me realise that there's so many, and my real passion is working with men, and working men through, I guess, healing trauma and I guess finding their healthy masculinity. So many guys need this.
Oh yeah,
but $500 a week is someone's rent.
Yeah,
that's feeding their kids. That's only the rich entitled to do this work. And the episode with Charles, he was saying that his online training programs he offers as a donation.
Yeah.
And some people might pay $20, some people might pay $200, somebody might pay $2,000, but it's based on their capacity.
Yes.
And the value that they've received from it. And Aubrey was saying they've got a yoga studio in Austin, and it's run on donation basis. People often say, "Oh, like, what do you suggest that I donate?" And they say, like $10 would be the suggested, maybe. Yeah. They ran the figures, and $9.09, I think it was, $9.10 is the average that they make per participant per class. But every class is full.
Yeah.
6 out of the 7 years they've been operating, been voted number one yoga studio in Austin. The reality is, perhaps if they enforced a $10 fee, then that barrier is like some people may not then come. They wouldn't have full classes. Even though they might be making 90 cents less per person per session, overall they're probably making more money. I mean, if you're paying a yoga teacher, $50 to run a class, it doesn't matter if there's 2 people in the class or 20 people in the class. Your cost of doing business is the same. Yeah. You want that class to be full. So, this new way of looking at things, so it's really inspired me to go, okay, I've never felt comfortable with traditional economics and that traditional money framework. I have a first-hand understanding that sometimes people really need access to these things, and the cost is a barrier. Yeah. If I'm confident in what I'm putting out into the world and I'm doing it from a place of purity and service and giving, then I have to trust that people are going to see value in that.
Yes.
And that the people with capacity...
There's that word, the trust.
Yeah. And so people with the capacity, I have to trust that they will see value in reinvesting into it, so that the people that don't have the capacity can still access it and still get what they need out of it. Yeah. And that's how we'll start to see change, especially in this space. Yes. If you really want to throw yourself into this healing, I don't know, conscious, I guess, wellness space, it can be fucking expensive.
Oh my God, yes. And this is where the system fails us again, because, and again, it's not like, okay, well, don't question, why are you questioning why that organic milk costs $4 a litre? Shouldn't you be questioning why that non-organic white liquid looking stuff is $1 a litre?
Yeah.
So we've been so conditioned, if it's not on the, like, as a nutritionist and I used to practice as a massage and bone therapist as well. People are, can you give me health fund rebates, or are you on the PBS scheme, the pharmaceutical benefit scheme? No. Yeah. But you know what? I only charged you $70 for an hour. You go somewhere else where you're going to get, $40 off your house rebate, and they're going to charge you $140 an hour. Can you put 2 and 2 together? Oh, no, I can't come and see you because I can't use my health fund. I have to make it worth my while. This perpetual
backwards economics.
Total backwards economics, So, if we keep things, we trust ourselves, trust that what we're doing is of value and of worth, and that our gifts are here. We have been given these gifts to share with the world, and we value them. Others will too, but not for us to have an expectation of what that value looks like. That's the thing.
And I think that's where traditional economics, I mean, whenever I've run businesses, I've always built my costings on a formula.
Yeah.
So not like, because perceived value, especially if you're building a product that you're very passionate about, you can be like, oh, I think it's worth this.
Oh, yeah.
and it's just not. But I've always done things very much based on a formula. When I had a food production business, I knew down to the cent what each packet of product cost. Then my RRPs were actually based on a formula based on the cost of each packet of production.
Yeah, which is normal, yeah.
But then it's hard. Like that's a physical product that has a cost to produce. Yeah. When you're providing a service, and one of the examples that Charles uses, James Cameron's making Avatar 2.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yes, that will be epic. If the struggling mum of 4 kids gets to take her kids to the movies for free to watch it, is that going to cost him any more money to produce the film? Is his return going to be less? I mean, the reality is she can't afford to see it anyway.
Yeah.
All you're doing is robbing her of joy and her kids of joy in this experience. It's not money that you're going to get in your pocket anyway. Like,
Yes.
like when is it going to change? Like, when are we going to drop this kind of elitist,
Yes.
thing around money and stop people from experiencing joy and these
When the
experiences?
system falls, when this current system falls, that is when, because it can't exist within this framework that exists at the moment. This masculine patriarchal framework does not allow it. It doesn't serve it. It doesn't fuel it. It doesn't allow for it. And this is where this rise of the feminine comes from. And this is the space that I've found power from.
Yeah.
Is that for all of these years, I have found that because I didn't allow people in to support me, I thought I had to support myself. So my masculine became overbearing. I thought, and again, society taught me, and I listened and I reaffirmed it, that feminine was weak.
Yeah.
Soft was weak. But do you know what? Feminine is so fucking powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one thing when the women, and that's another reason why we've been taught as women to squabble with them, divide and conquer, When we come together, and we are now, it is, the feminine is rising.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just hope it's not too late. I don't know. And you know what? If it when I say too late, it's not that it is. Everything is exactly as it is. If this system falling means that humankind falls with it, that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
What exciting amazingness is there beyond that? We don't know until we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, bringing joy and happiness to the present moment is a big fat fuck you to the system in my eyes, but I'm not doing it for that. But if you really want to rebel against the system in this day and age, the ultimate revolution is to be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
And that's what I've come to see. And that is my service to this world, is to bring, bring awareness so that people are not caught up in greenwashing and thinking, the worst one I've seen recently on the TV, an ad for Omo. Omo is a washing liquid for your clothing, for washing machine. And they're like, our bottles are now recyclable. And it's like, you douches, your bottles have always been recycled. They're just taking another angle with their marketing,
Yeah.
So, we get sucked into that and go, I should buy Omo because their bottles are recyclable. It's like, they always have been, but the actual product is hugely detrimental to the environment. It is hugely detrimental to your health. And there are many alternatives. Kin Naturals product drop. But
link in the
But if we can bring more awareness to people being open-minded to listening to principles and things like Charles Eisenstein and Zach Bush, and it flows down the chain to us then living it, and being it.
I think
we will have a shift.
There's a huge amount of dissatisfaction with how things currently are.
Yeah.
And I think, coming out of, if you take it back a few hundred years, we had, lords and peasants.
Yeah.
And those landholders, they would allow you to live and exist on their land for, a bit of a tax. But with industrialisation, obviously, the new land holders and owners were factory owners, and they needed bodies and people to work in these factories. And so we've had this this kind of real dual class thing going on for quite a few hundred years. The village, the communal village, has been gone in the Western world for a long time. But we're done with it. We're really, there's this huge dissatisfaction with the world the way that it is, and the system the way that it is, and it has to change. It just has to, and you can see it starting to change. I mean, as shitty as COVID's been, it has enabled people to stand up, to have a voice, to see, to look behind the curtain. You know,
It's a whole nother world that exists.
You know, to see the wizard, and to become aware of what's really going on, and absolutely, there's a huge shift
There is
happening, and I'd love to get to Arcadia.
Change your spelling, your spells, change your word. We're going to Arcadia.
Going to Arcadia.
What are those steps and what are those things that you have to be and do to allow that to come into reality?
Well, you know what they've done? Now, after the podcast with Charles, they've moved the entire model of it to this donation-based.
Have they really?
Yeah. He Aubrey says at the end of the podcast that, you know, logistically they're trying to work out how, obviously they're kind of halfway through ticket sales, like how are they going to offer an open-ended refund for if you feel you've paid too much, we'll give you some money back, or if you feel you haven't paid enough, like feel free to give more. They're trying to work out the logistics of it, but they've moved the whole thing to that model.
Because gosh, I've created a space now where my income is just increasing tenfold all the time. So when I get to the point next year where I'm going to go, I probably will feel that, you know, is there opportunity to gift somebody a space?
Yeah.
You know, or does that just mean that I pay more to enable somebody else to pay less? You know, I just feel so blessed to be able to be in that position. But, you know, I've taken the steps to create that, you know, and that feels amazing. But I just feel like, you know, the more that this COVID thing goes on for, and whatever it's going to roll into next, whatever shit show.
Monkeypox.
Yeah, whatever shit show they're going to throw at us next. All it does is create more and more opportunity for people to go, hold on, what's going on here? But do you know what? The big thing is as well is that, and this happened to me, you know, but probably not as dramatic as some people it will be for, because I've always sort of, you know, rebelled against the system. But to then go, oh my God, well, if that's that, and that's been happening like that, oh my God, that means everything that I've been living on is a lie. That's a lot for some people to let land. So they'd rather just switch off and keep doing what they're doing. They don't have the capacity to hold that. And I get that. But for the people who do, oh my God, this community is just fucking beautiful, and it is amazing, and it is growing. And when you see people now, you know, community gardens and people teaching people, like we've got 2.5 acres here, and Paul's the most amazing green thumb. But it's been very decorative gardens for a long time. We are in transition. We've got a lot of the space, and he's building food forests, and oh my God, he is at one with his garden all the time. It's like, it gets dark, and it's like, Paul, come on, I've got dinner ready, you know? But so if it doesn't serve a purpose or we can't eat it, then it doesn't get, you know, and so, we're growing as much as we possibly can, but you can't grow everything to sustain yourself. So this is when community comes in. We've got a turkey problem here, which limits what we can grow. So we've discovered we're very good with turmeric and ginger and dragon fruit and citrus, and I've got a persimmon tree. The avocado trees are a couple of years off. I've even got a black sapote tree.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got one. I got a chocolate pudding fruit tree. I remember I gave you one of those one time. Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, so it's like, right, I'm going to grow the dragon fruit, and I'm kick ass at growing rosemary and a few other bits and pieces, aloe vera. And then, you know, it's like there's this group that meets once a month at the moment, but it's growing and growing, called Harvest Swap. You bring what you've grown and you trade it and you swap with others. So this comes back to this gifting economy. So what it is it's just connecting people, you know, and when you have more community feeling empowered, and that's what it's about, is that empowerment, because people then open up and see, oh my God, all of this has been a lie. And the system disempowers you. It's like, well, shit. What can I do? And so that comes back to empowering people, and that comes back to being part of something. And you know, we're hardwired to belong, because that's what kept us alive. You know, we had to be part of a tribe. If you got shunned from your tribe back in the day, you'd be fucked on your own. So we're hardwired to belong. So that might mean sacrificing our inner truths to be part of something, which you see happening a lot in society at the moment with the current narrative throwing around. It's like, oh, I can't go against the narrative. I won't feel part of that. I'll be shunned, you know. For me, I don't care what you think. I'm not going to be disrespectful and throw things in your face, but this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I stand for. And if you choose to not align with that, that's totally fine. I respect that. But
Isn't it interesting? Like we live in a space where everything has a value.
Yes.
Right? So this mug right here,
I bought for 50 cents from the op shop. It's a great mug. Did you see what's inside it?
I know there's a worm. I thought it might have to you. Thought it might have been the vagina mug.
No, that's this one. There's the Yoni mug. Yeah. Another plug, Yoni listening.
And but if you look at like traditional tribal cultures, like what values? So like shamanism, right, and healers. Like now you go and see, any kind of healer or therapist, Reiki or a massage therapist or like anything, like even I've got there's a plant medicine retreat happening in the next couple of weeks, and I mean the cost for those 2 days is $900. Now, it's a chunk of change.
It is, yeah.
To go through a healing ritual.
Yeah.
Everything in our society has a value placed on it. If you look at these traditional tribal cultures, it was just that everybody was taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like perhaps you were the tribe's shaman or healer, and you didn't say, well, that's going to cost you 2 apples. You ate with the rest of the tribe. Everybody was provided for. Whoever needed healing came and got healing.
Yeah.
But you knew providing that service to the tribe, somebody else was going to go and catch and forage your food.
Yeah.
Somebody else was going to fetch the firewood. And like everybody just had their part to play in keeping everybody in the community sustained and healthy and happy and connected. It's this Western, mentality of every single thing has a value. You look around this room, and our brain, like when we start to think about value, we go, "Oh, that thing cost $1,000," and the cat.
You'd even have to buy a cat.
You'd even have to buy a cat.
Yeah.
Right.
He turned up in a rubbish bin, mind you. I didn't buy him.
He was a rescue.
He was a rescue. Yeah.
But people pay $10,000 for a dog.
I know, it's absolutely insanity. When did that become normal? When did that be? And this is the thing about being conscious and taking yourself off autopilot is. When do you start questioning these things? We're not critical thinking anymore.
No, but this, the thing like the harvest swap, where we're moving back towards the value of things is seeing everyone sustained.
Yes.
That's the value in it.
Giving a shit.
Yeah.
Giving a shit and being part of a community where everybody has a gift to contribute.
Yeah.
And we all do our part. Because you know what? When all this, look, I'm not going to predict the future. Nobody can, but we look like we're looking down the barrel of a gun of some pretty shit stuff coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And what's going to end up happening is they are going to push perpetual fear, which is going to push people to hold onto more, to hoard, to go, I'm not sharing because there is not enough.
Look at the toilet paper crisis.
Yeah.
We fucking went through. Like, COVID did not make you shit yourself.
No.
Why? Why could you not buy toilet paper?
I really didn't get that. It was weird. But yeah, no, I think, and what is true is the opposite. When you are pushed into that space, what we need to do is actually open our doors.
Yeah.
And we need to open our hearts and we need to come together as a community and as, fucking human beings.
Yeah.
Remember that you are all human beings. We are all here. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, there's not even teams. There's not teams.
There is a team.
Yeah, yeah.
So how can we be in competition?
Yeah.
Like with a single team.
Exactly. So, it's when you start opening your eyes and I'll say that, this is what plant medicine does. is it allows you to start creating those new neurological pathways, in your brain. If you can imagine you're at a crossroads and you can go down that road, beautifully sealed and open road, and it's like you can see quite a far away. It looks cushy and yummy. Or you could go down this road. And this road is pretty freaking overgrown. There's a few thistles and bits and pieces around the place. It doesn't look as easy or as inviting. Plant medicine encourages you to walk down that path.
Yeah.
And that path is goddamn beautiful.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel what I've explained over the last sort of few months now, found an analogy that describes it. I stood on top of a hill. I rolled up and I made a ball of snow, and I rolled that snowball down the hill. Now all I can do is chase it. It just grows and grows and grows. It's not a destructive snowball, though. I gotta say that. It's a positive snowball. It's a beautiful snowball, but it's just gaining momentum.
Yeah.
And it's gaining size, and it's growing. I can't stop it because I've utilized mushrooms specifically to enable me to get out of my own way, quieten that loud egotistical voice in my head, and take that path less traveled.
Yeah.
And it's just allowed me to open up and see so many things and sit back and be in a space to ask questions about why is it like this and what can I do? And then not sit in a state of victimhood either, but sit in a space of going, what can I do?
Open to receive those answers.
Yes.
From the source,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to, I wanted to mention this before, but
we've had a few tangents today. Our hour's gone out the window.
Yeah. Almost an hour and a half. So with the breath work, have you heard much about like our androgynous DMT in the body?
Yes. Oh, that bliss state at the end of a breathwork session is amazing.
So they've found that there's a saturation of DMT in our lungs. Androgynous DMT. So
wow.
A theory is that, breathing in these particular ways, activating this, psychedelic chemical in our body.
Yeah.
Because I've had the same, I pretty much, I had a mushroom journey, and it finished at this point, and the next week I did an hour breathwork session, and straight back in there.
Yeah.
Took from where that left off, just, and there was no, in my psyche, there's no difference between the mushroom journey and the breathwork journey.
Yeah, okay.
It was all
activated that same part.
In my body. And I mean, obviously psilocybin's different to DMT.
Yeah.
But then, these different modalities of accessing this higher self that we have. The breathwork thing, it blew me away. And then obviously having those experiences and diving into it and doing research and looking at that. Then obviously, my experiences with ayahuasca as well. To go, kind of like we have, endocannabinoid system in our body, to go, this thing that's so demonized.
I know.
By the government and by the mainstream, and
they can't patent it. You can't. It's that patriarchal system.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. I mean, people don't realise, Australia's, our native acacias, wattle, loaded with DMT.
Beautiful. I love wattle seed tea.
Yeah.
They sell a good one down at Grub Organics, actually. It's beautiful.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But it fascinated me that we have this androgynous DMT in our bodies. Wow. They think it's neuroprotective as well.
Yeah.
So in the brain, like if we were to be without oxygen or something like that, it activates, and that's perhaps with some of the breath work, like the holding, that almost like that hyperventilation, and then holding, depriving the brain of that, kicking in that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful. And that's what the thing, again, that I come back to is this society and the system, the way it is all about disempowering us so that and it's about disconnecting us. And what reconnecting is just about remembering. We know none of this stuff is new. Breathwork, plant medicine, it's not new.
It's not called searching.
No.
There was research, right?
Yes.
We're researching.
See, back to those spells words.
Yeah. That word's always, been an interesting one for me. We're researching. Like, how did the Egyptians move huge stones to build the pyramids? We're researching for ways to do things that.
Yeah, well, that's like when you mentioned ayahuasca before. I haven't had an ayahuasca journey. I'm a bit scared of it, to be honest. I think I've expanded and experienced so much with breath and mushrooms that I don't feel the need to go there at this point in time.
Yeah, if not being called.
But ayahuasca is made up of multiple different plants brought together that actually grow hundreds of kilometres in distance apart in the jungle. And it is only through the connection with the forest that these people hundreds of years ago, or it might even be thousands of years ago, knew to bring them together because the plants spoke to them.
Well, yeah. I mean, the stories are, it was the machapo, it was the tobacco, actually, that...
was the plant that led them?
Yeah. The kind of those ancient Peruvian folklore is that it was actually the tobacco, the wild tobacco that spoke to them and taught them how to make the ayahuasca brew.
And see, this comes back to language again as well. A plant spoke to you. Our analytical human brain goes, plants don't talk, they fucking do.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't speak in a language that you understand, or you do understand it, you have to remember how to listen to it. Yeah. And I read a book a little while ago, Thus Spoke the Plants. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. And, I have a real connection with plants. They speak to me. But it was when I went and saw a lady who did intuitive massage, and she's like, oh, God, there's lots coming through for you. And she's like, Sarah, spend time with the plants. They're speaking to you. They've got messages for you. You need to stop and listen. And so this actually was started to be explored as well when I started trail running.
Yeah.
I was out there a lot more, but I was too focused on getting from point A to point B that I wasn't pausing as much. So when my body broke again, and I've been on that healing journey to approach this differently, I've then gone out and walked in the bush and just connected. There's these medicines that are around constantly.
Yeah.
It's just for us to stop and pause, and that's what COVID did for me.
Yeah.
It made me pause.
And you think about, like, say, plant medicine in general, the variety and different types, it's, how can it not be there?
Yeah.
For a reason, for a purpose.
Yeah. It's exciting, isn't it?
I love it. It's very,
and it's exciting to see how it can come into maybe mainstream world. Like, I know I've seen directly the benefit and the diversity of people that have had such, again, diverse results from journeying with mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
The thing I love, ayahuasca and DMT is definitely a you're there or you're not kind of experience, right?
Yeah, it's a you're in.
Where the thing I do love about mushrooms is
you can tap in and out,
and you can take a little microdose, just get that a little bit, kind of clear the psyche kind of thing. You can take a little bit more. Or you can, take a whole 5 gram bag and coon yourself on the couch and journey in for 6 hours. It's an incredible thing, incredible tool for us to be able to. I caught up with a childhood mate probably about a month ago. I hadn't seen in a decade.
Wow.
And he'd spent some other time with another childhood mate of ours on the Gold Coast who's gotten right into mushrooms, and he's quite successful in the business world, and he microdoses. He says it just takes the ego out of all the decision making.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So even from a business sense, instead of being emotionally caught up in all these decisions you've got to make, he just sees the logic, he sees things for what they are, removes his own emotion out of it, and clearly make decisions. Yeah. So
That's what I found it. Well, yeah, I think I said it before. It got me the fuck out of my own way.
Yeah.
So I've allowed a lot more creativity to come through. I will take a dose and I'll have it with cacao, and I team it up with lion's mane mushroom, which helps activate different neurological pathways in the brain. And I get really creative. And I write some amazing blog posts. I write just some amazing content, and I get into a space that allows me to continue to I don't want to say forward, but I will move forward in my life, continue to grow, and continually learn and be in a space of service. It's just it's goddamn beautiful. I wouldn't do life without mushrooms now, but at the same time, gosh, Zach Bush speaks, to say that we will come to a point where we don't need plants to journey with. We will just journey on our own. But I think that they are a really, really amazing tool to put you on the path to journeying to a place that can seem a little scary if your ego keeps getting in the way. And it's an invitation, and it's a gentle invitation. It has a softness and a welcoming, sort of nurturing space about it. It's not as brutal like ayahuasca,
No.
It's a beautiful, gentle space to step within.
Oh, yeah. And I think, like, just kind of, I guess this isn't based on any fact or anything, just kind of like my thoughts around it all. There are examples of, say, Indigenous Australian culture where, like we have plants here loaded with DMT. There's no real evidence that I've found that, Aboriginal Australians weren't using it like, say, the Peruvians or anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
But I mean, they have these dreaming stories and these dreaming states that they could naturally enter through really breath, dance, like ecstatic dance and stuff like that. I just really believe that, hundreds of thousands of years ago, that in our most natural state, that we've had obviously higher concentrations androgynously in our body of DMT and these psychoactive chemicals in our body to get us into these states. Whereas you look at our world, like EMF and pollution and all this stuff in our world now, the all pesticides in our food breaking our bodies down. Probably the concentrations of these chemicals in our body are so much lower than what I imagine. And like I said, this isn't based on any kind of research or information, just kind of my own assumptions. That I can see how in a more natural state we would have been. It would have been much easier to access these states naturally and unassisted than what it is today. Thankfully we have these medicines and we have these tools available to us to get us there. But I mean, as Zach Bush says, the goal would be to move towards a state where androgynously, naturally, we're in a more balanced and state where our body, is operating at these levels naturally.
No, and I think that it is possible. It is definitely possible. And God, what's the steps between here and there? I don't know. But I'm just going to continue living my life from my heart space, letting that lead me. Does that mean that I'm doing things right all the time? Fuck no. I screw up all the time, but I do it with awareness and I do it less severely, you know, and I definitely, because I'm making more conscious choices, the extremes are less, you know. And I did question myself for a while there as to, I was becoming more aware of, privilege and righteousness. So I come from a probably upper middle class family. We weren't probably much the same as you. We weren't rich, but I never longed for anything. I got shoes when I needed them. I got to go to school camps and I got a bike and I got a surfboard and all those things. But I was never and I haven't really travelled. Not yet. I was about to start. I had my son young and so I chose that was going to be something I'd do later. So I haven't really travelled to experience other cultures and probably stuck within some quite middle class, upper class areas to have not, seen or experienced what it's like to not be able to make choices, for those, a lot of opportunities to not even be on your radar.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know where I was going with that, but I think to enter into spaces with more awareness, and especially what is going on outside your bubble. You might make these choices and they're right for you at the time, but it doesn't mean that everybody else has to jump on that same bandwagon at the same time as you. Yeah. You just live in your space. You do you project you. I do get people saying to me a lot, what you do and what you post on social media inspires me. And I'm like, I'm just blown away by that. I love that. I absolutely love that. So I'm like, cool, I'm not doing it for other people, but I am at the same time. If I can do what lights me up and it inspires other people to shine their light bright too, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing, and I'll keep doing that. So while I'm not disempowering other people, I'm empowering. I can only do it from the context and the experience that I've had in life as well, So I am exposing myself to a couple of people who I know who have had more experience in this space, and I'm actually going to explore learning more about nonviolent communication, which I think will be really, really cool. So, I think, we should move with awareness, respect, and consideration for other people's experience, and they're just moving from their experience in their space as well of what they've had show up in their life, because God, I might respond to something now very different in 6 months' time because of what's happened between here and there, I could listen to this podcast in 6 months' time and go, what the fuck were you talking about, Sarah?
But that's the thing, like life shapes us. In my previous work, I've done a lot of work with people around attachment trauma, attachment styles. And, adult attachment is something that does change based on experience. All it takes is a couple of really shitty relationships and you've gone from secure to anxiously attached, or secure to avoidantly attached. And but what's not focused on is you can move back. You have to do the work, you have to dive into the trauma, you have to do the healing, but absolutely, there's a book called Attached. Great book. Although I feel like it's got a missing chapter or two.
Yeah.
Where, an ex-partner of mine read that book and got felt absolutely defeated because she realised that she was heavily avoidant in her attachment style. And the book kind of says, to paraphrase, if you're avoidant, you're fucked. Although avoidance,
so it doesn't give it a solution as such.
No. Yeah. And it kind of says, oh, you can change your attachment style, but statistically only about 25% of people can, and it takes 4 to 5 years. And it's like,
doesn't make the path very inviting.
No. And throwing around things like, although only 20% of people are avoidantly attached, they make up about 80-85% of the dating pool.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, because if you've got two securely attached people,
they're not on the dating scene, are they?
They're the people that are just having a fucking great relationship and loving life. A secure and anxious person can generally make a relationship work, because although the anxious person might need a bit of extra reassurance and crave a little bit of extra intimacy, the securely attached person doesn't mind providing that.
Wow. Right? Interesting.
Then you've got anxious and avoidant. That was my last relationship. Like, that is fucking toxic. Like, your needs are so polar opposite. You get into this conflict cycle constantly about your needs in the relationship. And then two avoidant people just don't have the stickability to make a relationship work. So, but the thing is that if we're aware, like you said before, awareness is a superpower, right?
So is.
If you're aware and open enough to really look at yourself and not be scared to. I think we sometimes don't want to see like the truth of who we are. Like we feel this like shame about ourselves.
Yes.
When like the healthy thing to do is go, hey, that is me. Like for me, like fuck yeah, like I've got money issues because of my stepdaddy issues. Like be aware and see it for what it is. But then know that we have the power to change anything.
Yeah, we do.
Anything. So you know, don't be afraid to dive in, to look, to figure ourselves out. Don't be ashamed of who you are and why you are that way and how you've gotten there. But that's the first step.
Yeah.
In being able to go, okay, yep, with attachment, yep, I'm this. And I'd say my attachment moved very much from a secure attachment to an anxious attachment style based on my own experiences. But do the work, bit of time out, bit of digging deep, bit of plant medicine, bit of whatever tools are at your disposal. You know, see a therapist, get some help, but do that work. You bring yourself back to a secure place where, you know, you go into your next relationship, and I know I have going, whoa,
Yeah.
wow, relationships aren't just conflict and trauma constantly. What?
Yeah.
You can relate with somebody in a healthy way on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like that thing, the money things, you can reprogram that. And
Totally. You can reprogram and reframe everything. You just have to have a willingness. But also, I think what's really, really important, again, is that community and that connection and to be supported and held. If you haven't got that support network around you, taking steps into an unknown space can be really, really hard. And I'd 100% say that one of the things, if you're choosing to take some big steps to make some big changes in your life, create a support network around you and be willing to receive their help and their support and assistance.
Yes.
Be willing to receive. It's not a weakness. It is a fucking strength.
And to see, I think one of the traps in it is, if something doesn't quite go right, we see it in such a negative way, especially with communities.
No, gone.
we see it in such a negative way. When what we should be doing, if we're doing the work, so say I've gone, oh shit, I've got this fucking issue in my life. Right, so I'm like, oh, what books, what resources, what learning can I do? I sit down, I read the books, I see a therapist, I do this learning. You can do that on your own.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need community for that phase of things. But unless you never get the opportunity to put that into practice, it's never going to be integrated.
It's like having a recipe book and never cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
Just looking at the pictures.
It's a great analogy.
It is a good analogy, hey? I've used that a few times.
Yeah. And so the beautiful thing about connecting yourself with community, especially conscious community, is,
mind you, there are toxic conscious people around as well, so don't be alluded to that either.
But even that provides you the opportunity to put what you've learned into practice.
Yes,
To
totally.
integrate and to grow through it.
Yes.
I went through a thing recently where I went, fuck, did I stay in that relationship too long? You know? And everybody in my life's like, yo, you should have left that thing a year ago.
Yeah, you're flogging a dead horse.
Yeah. But
Told you so.
I've got a lot of told you so's.
Yeah.
But when I really stopped and looked back at it, I went, you know what? What a beautiful opportunity to put the learning. So I'd gone through this thing where I'd really become self-aware about some stuff, went through some deep learning.
You did.
And then went, you know what? I'm gonna nail this thing. I'm gonna put it into practice.
Cool.
I'm really proud of myself that I did.
Yeah, that's such a willingness.
I showed up differently. I responded and reacted differently. I really, really put that stuff I'd learned into practice. Did the relationship work? No, it didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to prove to myself that I could do that, to prove to myself that that was integrated.
Yeah.
before stepping into something new.
Yeah.
Because if I just left that relationship then and done all this learning, then the next relationship, I'd have to practice all this stuff. I'd have to prove to myself that I'm changed, that I can show up in this capacity, that you know, I can respond differently in these situations. Now I can walk with confidence into something else, because even though that relationship didn't work and there was all this drama at the end, all this stuff, I proved to myself that I had gone through that learning, that I'd integrated it, and that I could put it into practice.
And essentially you were building trust in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what happened with that relationship anymore.
Yeah.
Like it served myself, my higher self, and my ability to grow and to, you know, to move forward.
Yeah.
It served me in a beautiful way. But yeah, like that community thing, don't expect it to be unicorns and rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing the work, this is that shadow work, right?
Yeah.
You know, we get into the dark side of ourselves. We pull it out. We pull it apart. We put it back together. The universe will provide opportunity for you to put that into practice.
It will, yeah.
And 99% of the time, that will come from people you're close to. It'll come from that community. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But see it for what it is.
Exactly right.
And don't throw yourself out of it when, you know, you get these opportunities to really put into practice the integration of the things that you're learning.
And this comes back to words as well. Like if you look at something as an opportunity, it changes everything about it. An opportunity, it has a different energy to it.
Yeah.
So I think that those reframes and really looking at language and the way that we speak about things is so important, because if you sit there and listen to one person explaining something and then you listen to another person explaining exactly the same thing in a different way, you'll receive it differently or feel differently in your body. And if you allow yourself the opportunity and the space to pause and allow that to drop in and go, oh, how does that fit? How does that feel? Even if it feels a bit clunky and awkward, it's maybe just because you haven't exercised that before ever or for a while.
Everything feels clunky and awkward. And
oh my God, I'm
the
queen of clunky and awkward. And I think this is one of the things about the willingness and journeying. Gosh, if you look through my if you flick through all my Instagram, you will see a chameleon.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say a chameleon, I was not trying to be somebody else. I was just, this is where I look at Madonna. Look at Madonna over the years. You know, she had this boldness and this willingness to do whatever the fuck she wanted to, you know, like I've been from one extreme to the other and kind of almost back again. You know, so there is this opportunity to lean into things and just try them on for size. Be willing to suck at something new.
Yeah.
You know, I give you, and that's like when I see nutrition clients, it's like I give you the permission to go into your kitchen and cook something that tastes like ass. You might fuck it up completely, but you know what? Every master chef and what is it, Michelin star chef, that's how they create beautiful, amazing new
20 things that haven't worked to find that one.
Exactly right. That's like that analogy of the iceberg, you know, there's so much underneath and all you see is that little bit on the top. So, you know, when somebody starts coming into the limelight or, you know, starts getting a bigger following and they come into your field when they've reached here, you know, it's like you can't judge your chapter 1 against somebody's chapter 20, you know. So give yourself the ability and give yourself the permission to fuck things up, you know, but hopefully not at the expense, you know, of others and, you know, too much, but, you know, you have to be willing to fuck things up.
Yeah. But even in that, I mean, as long as you don't have malicious intent to fuck things up for others, the reality is we've all been through experiences where somebody else has fucked something up for us. It's a great opportunity for us to grow and learn. Sometimes it's going to be a gift.
Is a big one.
Sometimes it's going to be a gift, our unintentional fuck up of somebody else's thing. Like, you know, it's the swings and roundabouts of life, really. But as long as you're doing things without malicious intent and you know, you're really doing things to the best of your ability for the best outcome. It's not always going to go to plan, But that's how we grow and learn.
But what is the plan? What is the plan?
Oh, I've given up on making plans.
Yeah, if somebody says they've got all this shit together, they are lying. We are all stumbling our way through. We are all trying to figure things out. Like, I actually wrote a message on, I've got a private Facebook group that I run, and I wrote a post on there the other day. It just fell out of me. And one of the women in the group personally responded to me on Messenger, and she's like, oh my God, do you have days where you just don't have your shit together? And I'm like, oh gosh, I was like, it worried me initially because I was like, well, how am I showing up? Am I showing up and looking like I've got everything sorted? Yeah. Or is that person been pedestaling me?
Yeah.
Or looking at things from their angle, and I'm like, no, I have fucking shit days.
Yeah.
On the whole, I am joyous and I bring joy to everything that I do wherever possible, but I'm a human being. I am also a woman who has a cycle, and my hormone levels ebb and flow. And some days, like we first scheduled this podcast, I woke up that day the most irritable, frustrated, and fully and purely in a bad fucking mood. And I'm like, where has this come from? I don't know. It felt really uncomfortable, but I let myself be there.
Yeah.
But I was like, Ben, I don't think today's the day for the podcast. I'm genuinely in a really bad mood. And although I want to show up authentically, I really don't think the viewers are going to really benefit from this.
Welcome, shitty Sarah.
So, show up authentically, but don't feel and take the mask off. But at the same time, you do not have to be vulnerable with everybody.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
only have to show up vulnerably. Oh, no, you don't have to show up vulnerably in the spaces that you will be held.
Yeah, where you feel safe.
So, create safe spaces, create community. Gosh, we keep coming back to that. And we're almost heading towards 2 hours now, so I suppose.
Better wrap things up. So what is the next
nutshell?
Yes. So what does the next little bit of time look like for you? What are you moving into?
It's all about creating a life by my design. And so it's about creating more and more space to allow that to unfold and for me to really, truly see what that looks like. But I see myself, because I have been really starting to move this from the space of prosperity consciousness now, really embodying what that means and what that feels like. Compassionate leadership is a massive part. I've created quite a community where I am leading the way. I do feel a sense of responsibility and leadership to these people who are looking for it is guidance, but, I'm standing next to people and inspiring them, not standing behind them and pushing them. I'm walking with people. And so I'm feeling a real sense of beautiful responsibility. I've reframed my poor relationship with the word responsibility. And I'm looking at, helping people break up with the system and moving towards unbanking and creating a beautiful space where I can just have my toe dipped in the system and live a life that is conscious and joyous. And obviously I live in a beautiful place on the Sunshine Coast here, and we've got a beautiful home and just feel grateful for that and living in the present moment. But just really inspiring people to empower themselves. And what can come from that, I've seen with the few people that I've been working with so far, is the ripple effect out into the community with that is epic. Yeah. It's so fucking cool. So, it's all about empowerment. It's all about breaking up with the system, and it's about creating a life by your design. But it's not about fighting against something anymore. It's about living in a space where you're walking in alignment and absolutely exuding this thing that you are living for, not fighting against something anymore. So that rebel with a purpose rather than without a cause.
Yeah, awesome.
Creating a real, revolution of change. And that real revolution comes from being the healthiest and happiest you can be. So that's what I envisage is really reframing. And I saw a post the other day, and this really, really exudes it. It's like, I'm not training for aesthetics anymore like I did with my bodybuilding days. I'm training for my old lady body. I want to be as fiercely independent and capable, and to live life as fully as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm training for my old lady body.
Old
How
lady
good
body.
is that?
Yes. Yes. Love that. And where can people find you?
Oh, gosh, what's my social media handle now? Wildflower Revolution. I am on Instagram. And Sarah Hansen. I'm a Sarah with an H and an Hansen. And sarahhansen.life is my website. It is actually about to be unpublished for reconstruction and a refresh and a reframe. But yeah, reach out wherever you want to find me. And I'm on the Sunshine Coast. So if
Beautiful
you want to
Sunshine.
have what I call a fleshy catch up, I'm all open. Conversations are amazing. You know, I absolutely love having conversations with new people, and so I'm an open book. Reach out.
Beautiful. You are. You are. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Great conversation.
Yeah, how are you going to edit that one down?
Oh no,
Or
it'll
2 parts?
No. It'll just go on.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you for listening, everybody. And,
All right. Thank you for joining me.
yeah, thank you.
Bye.
See ya.